So, better late than never. We're finally getting some relief coming our way, actually. They recently just passed a new COVID relief bill. So, what are we getting? What are we getting out of this COVID relief? Looks like 1,400 checks for Americans earning 75,000 or less, $2,800 for couples earning 1,150,000 or less, plus 1,400 per dependent. So every kid you get an extra 1,400. Renewable renewal of the Paycheck Protection Program for small business loans, enhanced food aid benefits for families, funding for schools to reopen, restaurant relief, funding for transit and airports, an extension of a $400 a week boost to federal unemployment benefits through the end of the August. Was that 400 or 300? It's 400,
$300
right?
checks for unemployment.
300?
Yeah.
300. So it's $300 a week. Expands to the child tax credit, including an increase to $3,000 per child and a shift to it being delivered as a monthly payment. Expansion of the earned income tax credit, funding for vaccine distribution, expansion of subsidies under the Affordable Care Act, for health insurance, expansion of health insurance for the unemployed through COBRA, health insurance law subsidies, an increase in the federal minimum wage to $15 an hour. That got a loss. Billions of aid for state and local governments. So yeah, we lost the $15 an hour, but we're at least getting some kind of relief. Is it too late? Have we waited too long? I mean, they said January, right? Didn't he say as soon as he gets into office, we'll get $2,000? Now we're down to $14,000, and we're not even getting $15 an hour.
1,500. You said 14,000.
14,000. 14. I wish it was 14,000, right? $1,400. So we were supposed to get 2,000. Now we're down to 14,000. 14,000 again. 1,400. But no sign of that $15 an hour.
Shoot, he'd be the man. 14,000. I'd be like, good looking, man. I paid down my debts.
That would actually probably help a lot more people that actually are in debt. Like, honestly.
Yeah, man.
Well, that's a lot of people's college. What they paid for college right there. Just drop off there.
That's even more. What?
Yeah,
he was supposed to do $50,000 for everybody who at least $50,000 debt that you had, but now he's saying maybe we'll do $10,000 of student debt because that's like nothing.
Yeah, by the time you think about all the months that passed and the amount of rent that needs to be paid, that's been in forbearance or whatever,
need to be paid?
That $1,400 isn't nothing. Yeah, I mean it helps with maybe like a month or two of food maybe, but it's not gonna really cover rent. It's not gonna cover a lot of things. If you're unemployed, I guess a little bit of money, $300. I think the only reason why they
did the $300 weekly.
I think the $300 weekly helps for the sense of whatever money, but the fact that they reduced it $100, they're like, well, we'll reduce it $100 and we'll extend it till what is it? I think September or August or whatever it is. I think what was it, August?
It's at least August. It depends
end of
on
August.
which state you're in. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it seems like somebody was saying they feel like Joe Manchin is running everything because of him and his likelihood of saying no to certain votes. They're kind of trying to appease him in regards to making sure that he votes yes to certain things. They had to take the freaking minimum wage thing off the bill. It seems like everything that was contingent on his, that he had to vote on, to hope to get him to get his vote in, is what, they changed it for. But what kills me is, because they're saying no Republican voted for it, right? So no Republican agreed with any of this, and we still got it through. A lot of people are like, well, why didn't we go higher then? And then you got to look at it. Somebody in the Democratic Party must have been kind of like holding it from going any further. And like a lot of people saying it's Joe Manchin. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it's Joe Manchin? What do you think kept them from going higher with the money? Do you think it was them? Do you think it was Biden or Harris? Or how do you see things the way they
To
develop.
clarify, do you mean the minimum wage argument or the
The whole
package itself?
thing, because I think what's his face wanted less money for unemployment too. He had said if you give them too much, they don't have incentive to work.
Yeah,
He's
they'll
had
never go back to work. People
yeah,
never go back to work.
so you know, I don't know too many people that could. What is it? It's weekly, right? It's 300 a week. So 300 a week is like a
Well, it's an
really like low
added
paying
300 a
job.
week.
I mean,
So
it's not
people
really
were
that
getting like
much.
3 to 400. I think as low, some people are getting in some states like $175 a week. So this extra $300 for at
Yeah.
least some people is going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
It'll help them get by. I mean, I can't imagine doing $175 a week, especially while living in Jersey. That's like, please, might as well be getting nothing. That's like a buck 75.
Yeah. Well, $1,200 a month about. I mean, $1,200 a month is okay, I guess. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't pay for a lot. If that's all the
It does
income
not
that you're.
pay for a lot.
No,
Yeah.
It
and
does
it goes
not pay for a lot.
fast. And it goes fast. It goes
Yeah.
really quickly.
You
These
have to
people,
have
the $1,200 is their mortgage payment.
you have to have a family unit and support system. A bunch of people living in the same household contributing. That's the only way that's going to work. And I mean, that's the way a lot of people in the past used to live. My mom was talking about it.
That's what a lot
How
of
a
people have
lot
been
of
forced to do.
yeah, a lot of people back in the days, they were, the mother, the father, and the children all lived in a house until the children were big enough to move out and but a lot of them still stayed there for a while, and because a lot of people didn't get married for a while, you know some of them into their 20s and 30s, so that they were able to survive. I always said that it'd be nice to have a huge house to have everybody living. Teresa and I and the family or whatever, we're lucky enough to have a bunch of people here where we can kind of support each other and bring, contribute together. But if I was living by myself or Teresa or whoever, I think we'd be up shit's creek. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
it'd be a lot harder.
And I don't know. That whole thing sucks, man.
They didn't even want to give this. They didn't even want to give this $1,400 to college students either. They
No,
weren't
they
going to give
didn't.
it to them either because you can only get the $1,400 for dependents, but it's under a certain age. So it's not like the college students' parents were going to be able to get because they have their children. They're still considered dependents. They were going to be able to get that $1,400 check from them. They were cutting that off at a certain age limit. So those college students were just going to be flapping in the wind with really nothing to hold them onto, which would have been ridiculous. They were fighting on that too. I think really they got to the point where they're like, look, we got to put out something soon because people are losing it. They're losing their lives over this stuff. Like this is really affecting a lot of people. People are going hungry. People are starting to make those hard decisions of do we pay the electric or do we get something to eat? And I think that the pressure was building and was mounting. And I know Bernie's always at least he seems like one of the most aware when it comes to the people and what the people are feeling like. And he's always, it seems like, feels like he's always saying, well, these people are starving, people are hungry, people are losing their homes, people are getting thrown out into the streets. We need to do something, we need to act. I'm mad that the position that he's in, he hasn't been able to kind of like make more of these changes. I know he wants that $15 an hour and people want it. We're lucky enough that Jersey's already started that. I think they're 2 or 3 years into their $15 an hour increase. New York's already passed it. So some states are lucky. They have, I believe, there's other lawmakers have developed their own plans to increase the minimum wage in the past month. Republican Senator Mitt Romney from Utah and Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas proposed their own minimum wage bill on February 23rd. The Higher Wages for American Workers Act would gradually increase hourly pay from $7.25 to $10 over the course of 5 years. Over the course of 5
Over
years.
5 years, not even
Then,
close to inflation.
right? Then, after every 2 years, pay would increase to match the rate of inflation. The legislation would also raise civil and criminal penalties for employers who hired unauthorized workers and require employees' eligibility to work to be confirmed with E-Verify. Senator John Hawley, a Republican from Missouri, also plans to introduce legislation to increase wages, but it has a few more provisions with his blue collar bonus credit. Workers would receive quarterly payments from the IRS if they make less than $16.50 an hour. In an example provided, a person making $12 an hour would receive $2.25 per hour credit and would equal to $4,680 a year and would be paid out in 4 payments of $1,170. There's also a Raise the Wage Act of 2021 that was introduced by the House and Senate Democrats at the end of January. This bill would increase the federal minimum wage to 15 by 2027. So that might be our best shot at $15 minimum wage, but that other one is ridiculous.
I actually believe that that's our best shot, to be honest.
Yeah. But that other one's ridiculous. Like, honestly.
It's pathetic that they think that, they use the excuse, well, these minimum wage jobs are meant for young kids to start at work and this, that, and whatever. I'm like, yeah, but you're not thinking about the people that don't have the qualifications for the higher paying jobs. What do they do? You know what I mean? But it's always that stupid excuse, like, well, my child should be making 20, if this is their first job, they shouldn't be making $15 or more an hour, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, all right, man.
They're just mad that their kid might be making the same amount of money that they're making. I keep saying this, and I say it all the time. It's because the only reason that you would be mad about somebody who's working at McDonald's getting paid $15 an hour is because you're not getting paid enough at your job. Yeah. And they're making you think that it's because of the person working at McDonald's getting $15 an hour. That's the reason that you're not going to get paid more. And you might be an educated person who's still paying off student loans and you're only getting $15 an hour. You deserve to get paid more. Everyone deserves to get paid more. Really, the price that we should be at if we are going with inflation, of how much inflation has increased over the years, we should be closer to $22 an hour for a living wage.
$22.75, yeah.
$22.75. Yeah, it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. $22.75, and we're squabbling over $15 an hour, and people are still getting $7.25.
It's all because of the years of greed of this country that this is the way it is. They did all this outsourcing. They did all this stuff to make everything nice and cheap and affordable. Like, I don't know anybody that wants to pay more money for their phones and technology or anything else that they want to purchase or whatever, their food or whatever it is. But what they did is they made the price of things cheap. They sold a lot of volume of that stuff. They made sure the CEOs got paid or whatever it is, and it became like a system that's been like, set in stone in this country for many, many years, right? That's the way to do business on it. Outsource, do this, do that. Make sure we get like the cheapest stuff we can get in order for us, to make the product as cheap as possible so they can sell as much volume of it as possible. Not everybody needs the top of the line iPhone and whatever else. Everybody wants the top of the line iPhone or the top of the line Samsung or whatever it is. But we've become accustomed to it. So now it's been so long, I agree, it will disrupt the system. It will cause businesses hardships in a sense because they're not going to be used to handling the amount of money that they're going to have to now dish out if they were to have give people the proper wages. That's their fault. I mean, it's their fault and the government's fault for allowing it to happen for so many years. If you allow the thing to get to the point where it becomes like a little molehill turn into a mountain, so what we got to sacrifice because that's what their decisions were. You know what I mean?
No, we have to pay for it.
Yeah,
we have to pay for it. Because think about Walmart and all these other people. They're living off of the government and aid from the government because they cannot afford to have a job at Walmart and buy groceries.
If it's not the government paying for it,
that's us.
Hold on, let me explain. What's going to end up happening is, let's say they did raise it, and I agree that it should be raised. It just should have been raised a long time ago. But because they made it so long, they made it seem like it's an impossible feat because of the fact that, all right, fine, we subsidize their stuff through, they get their pay and then they get like benefits from the government or whatever it is to help subsidize whatever they're not getting, right? So now if they raise the wages, now they're not going to get the government stuff. What do you think is going to happen? The businesses are going to raise the prices, and we're still going to have to pay for it. You know what I mean? Instead of
But that's
Instead of,
capitalism, baby.
but
but
that
That's
that's
exactly
capitalism.
and
that's
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 exactly
also
if
what
their
it
you're
is.
excuse. But
you have
that's
to be an
also their
anti-capitalist
excuse.
then.
Because
But
honestly,
my
it
whole
doesn't need to happen. All it needs to do is those CEOs don't need those checks to be as big and as fat as
but
they've been
that
used to.
but that's the whole point. You even if the system has been rigged this way for so long that you there would have to be a whole new different way of like dealing with currency. You know what I mean? Like that they
We have to
screwed up
deal
the
with
currency.
capitalism a completely different way. Where the
Yeah,
thing is that we have runaway, and like this is what pure capitalism, not even pure. I would even say that this is hierarchical capitalism.
You don't
But
think?
no,
Go ahead.
because most of these larger businesses have been actually they don't care if they raise themselves up to a $15 minimum wage. They just know that they lose the incentive from the government to get Medicaid and Medicare directly to their employees. They know that that's also going to go out the door at some point. They know it soon. In the next 10 years, I do see Medicare for all. I don't know if I see
absolutely.
it in the
Yeah,
next 4 years, but
Yeah.
I can tell you that in the next 10 years, it's probably going to happen. And at least a public option, which is the least that we could have, right? So we're going to get to a point where these companies are not going to gain the benefit from that. So the bigger companies are
Mm.
all for, they don't really care. They really just would love to just get out of this argument completely if they could.
no,
The
they're hiding behind
smaller
the small
companies,
businesses and saying, "Oh, but look at what you're gonna do to these little guys." Oh yeah, we
yeah.
They
don't
screw up
mind,
the
but
whole.
what about the little guy? We don't. That's what they're doing. They're grandstanding, saying, "Oh, well, we don't mind, but you're gonna destroy the little businesses."
I think they destroyed the whole structure. I think they destroyed the whole structure of our economy, and I think a lot of other economies have been, since a lot of them are based off of the U.S. dollar and everything else. Like, I think a lot of things are screwed up. I think a lot of things need to change. I think that's why they're doing this whole cryptocurrency stuff. There's a lot of I don't know, man.
Well, they
They
hate the
screwed this whole
cryptocurrency
thing up.
because of that too.
What
Because
happened?
we're
Mhm.
taking the power back within it when it comes to the money. So they don't like that shit either. They're like, no, 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 don't do that, don't do that,
Well, Tesla bought like billions of dollars worth of it. A lot of
because
people
they
are,
see it too.
yeah, but that's the whole thing though. Like, I don't know, man. I think it's too far broken, man. I think something bad. I don't want to say something hugely bad's gonna happen, but I think there's gonna be an adjustment at some point, and it's gonna hurt a lot of people. I can't exactly tell you how and when, but there's gonna be some sort of financial adjustment that's gonna have to happen in order for things to become uh, sustainable. These rich people that they're basically shifting all the money into the 1%, and we're not getting much out of it. Soon we're not going to have enough money to purchase things if they don't fix it. You know what I mean? That's one of the biggest problems now. Like if we're not getting enough from the government for COVID and everything else, and a lot of people are losing their homes or getting evicted or whatever else. Where is this money going to come from? Where are we going to purchase stuff? Like I don't know. I don't know. Does anybody have any idea of where you think this is going to develop into, how this is going to develop? Because I see a lot of. Go ahead. What you said?
I mean, that's where the logical retort is that there's going to be an increase in the minimum wage at some point, at least in the large corporations, because they're not going to gain the benefit of having the security of being subsidized by the people, by the government at this point.
Mm.
I think that is what we're going to be launching ourselves against. Um, I I think that this is actually our round of another recession. It's just the fact that unfortunately or fortunately, depending on who you are, um, the pandemic's economy either really did well for you or it hurt you dramatically. And there's very little middle ground. We're basically trying to, the $1,400 stimulus payment is basically a way to keep adjusting for the middle ground of people. But the people who are on the lowest end of the spectrum and the people who are at the middle to highest level of the spectrum are either doing really poorly right now or doing really well. And there's not much in between. And I think the only reckoning that's going to happen is that there's going to be another crash of some sort. Something is going to get devalued in a way, in such a way that we learn that the way that system worked didn't wasn't effective for our population, and it's just going to crash the system again. But I don't know what that's going to be, because unlike last time, I don't think it's going to be oil or a finance group that's going to do it. I think that it's more likely somebody shorts a stock that we find out is actually completely invaluable. Something like that will happen, and then we'll have another crash because somebody started to keep selling and selling, fast selling out of the stock market. But I actually don't know what that event will be. I think there's going to have to be another large event for some kind of financial change, unless we do something like raise the minimum wage. And then you can start having like, oh, this is the middle ground to the next step up. And that's
I think they
it's
just want to
it's
keep increasing that gap. They want to keep increasing the gap between the super poor and the super rich. That's all it is. That's all it looks like when they keep refusing to increase the middle wage. That's what it looks like. It looks like you want to just keep the super poor, and that's it. Like you want to keep that's how you want to keep them. You want to keep them down and out in the dirt and not getting anywhere.
Joe Manchin has investments in La Quinta, I believe is the hotel or whatever it is, and they pay their employees a minimum, I think, of $11, and they say that that might be a conflict of interest, to why he doesn't want to go into the $15 minimum wage. Like he doesn't want to go any higher than, I think it's not minimum. I think his highest paid employees are 11. I wouldn't say those that's the minimum. I think his highest paid employees is $11 or something like that. So I could see why he would be like, hell no, no, I don't want to spend an extra $4 per person per hour. You know what I mean? So or whatever it is, that whoever's getting that $11 or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't think they want to change anything, man. I think they want to live their life rich and drop dead or whatever it is, and leave the crap for whoever's left over. You know what I mean? I don't think a lot of these people care. At the end of the day, I think the only time they're gonna care is when it starts hurting their wallets, and they're gonna fight and scream until something changes. Well, that's just my opinion. I agree with you too, Anthony, and I think we all have like perspectives that are valid. It's just that I with the government, I don't understand some of their actions and why they do it, and I feel like there's a higher, not a higher, but a bigger picture that we're not seeing in some cases with why they make these decisions. It makes no sense that they would let the country go to crap the way they did. Why wouldn't they give us the money that people pay taxes for, to help us? I don't see the justification of that, and all that's going to do is create more hardships, and create more conflicts and drama within the country. So I don't know. I'm super confused with other than greed. That all it comes back to me is greed.